Get the non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
And away we go.
And away we go to a must-lose game, which we will talk about on Sunday. We'll get to that. But this is State of the Offense Thursday here. It's a Random Viking of the Week Thursday as well on Purple Daily, presented by Quick Trip. It's Mackie, it's Judd, it's our executive producer, Declan Goff, and this is Daily Vikings Entertainment. Daily, 365 days a year. And even though the Vikings season is coming to an end, the real fun begins in the offseason, where we will be speculating for months and months and months. Free agency season in March, draft season. Clickbait officer Declan's going to be throwing stuff out on social about what the Vikings could do.
I feel like when the combine hits, it's just a smorgasbord of reckless speculation that everybody embraces. Like, even if you don't necessarily live the lifestyle, once the combine starts, you're forced into the lifestyle.
Reckless speculation. Yes, and to all those who celebrate, it is a Reckless Speculation Thursday. We talked all sorts of Vikings and quarterback stuff on Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd, our scoop session. That can be found on the Score North YouTube channel. Before we dive into, we're gonna step away from quarterback here today and talk about something else with the offense that the Vikings wanted to improve very badly, but face planted on. After we shout out our friends over at Zero Res, boys. Zero Res is here to help you breathe easier in your house. That clean air, those clean carpets, that clean, deep cleaned house. Zero Res is here. A 4.9 out of 5-star rating on Google with over 17,000 reviews. So they are very well trusted. So if you ask for the Score North special at ZeroResMinnesota.com, you can get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $119. And this month, take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean as well. That's 9520-RES or ZeroResMinnesota.com. Ask for the Score North special. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same, Zero Res. So on the state of the offense here, we'll go through the usual categories here, and then we'll get into the big thing that they tried to fix, but they didn't. Yards per play, still a top 10 offense, boys, even with backup quarterbacks. Ninth in the NFL in yards per play. What's funny is, like, Nick Mullins has been helping their yards per play because he's chunking the ball down the field, and then the points per game is 22nd because they turn the ball over more than any team in the NFL. That's how you get that gap. So 9th in yards per play, 22nd in scoring, 15th in EPA, which is expected points added analytically, and then DVOA is another analytical measurement. They're 23rd offensively. Third down rate, the Vikings offense is 15th. Turnover rate, highest in the NFL. I think they're second in terms of, like, just counting turnovers, but in terms of percentage of drives that end in a turnover, the Vikings have the highest rate in the league. Just under 20% of Vikings drives end in turnovers. 1 in every 5 Vikings drives ends in a turnover.
And that's been a problem since week 1. So, like, that's not a new backup slappy quarterback thing.
Yeah.
That's a week 1 on problem, which I think is easily, if there was and I'm guessing that there will be eventually, a pie chart of blame of what went wrong, like, it's not even close, right?
Turnovers is number 1, injuries is number 2, not to make too many excuses, but
I mean, the pie chart is like the heap and help in a pie from the inability to hang on to the football is enormous.
Yeah. So how about this too? So the Vikings, just under 20%, it's like 19% is their turnover rate. The Steelers have the lowest turnover rate, 7% of their drives. So you wonder, well, how did the Steelers sneak out an extra win or two with terrible quarterback play, fired an offensive coordinator, their defense is okay. They don't turn the ball over. And then red zone touchdown rate. So when you go into the red zone, how many times, percentage wise, do you convert to a touchdown instead of something else? The Vikings are 25th in red zone touchdown rate. Turnovers, injuries, red zone failure has defined this season.
Yep.
And the biggest thing to get into it that they tried to fix in the offseason. They knew they had a passing game, and obviously when you lose your starting quarterback, you're going to take a step back offensively. But their goal in the offseason, we're going to go get the best run blocking tight end. We're going to run heavier personnel. CJ Ham's going to be a bigger part of this. We think Dalvin Cook has gone off the age cliff, and they were right about that. We're going to upgrade our running game. We're going to be heavier. We're going to be nastier. We're going to be less finesse. And here are some disturbing trends about the Vikings running game. They are 28th in rushing attempts, which is worse than last year. They're 25th in yards per attempt, 3.9 yards per attempt. They were 4.1 last year, so they're worse in yards per attempt. 29th in rushing touchdowns. They had 18 rushing touchdowns last year, most of them in the red zone, right? Run the ball, red zone, touchdown. So 18 last year, 7 rushing touchdowns this year. And they are 30th in rushing first downs. They basically can't get a first down unless they throw the ball, which all of that seems problematic when you have played with backup quarterbacks, journeymen, rookies for half the season since October. So what happened to the Vikings? Like, they came out, here we go. We're going to be a little more smash mouth than we were last year. And they face planted, man. Like, their running game got worse since 2022.
So I think this is unfortunate because you need to run the football to win. And if you want to be a playoff team, you have to have a semblance of a run game, okay? That's the bad news. The good news, in my opinion, is this is, to quote the great Christian Ponder, to quote what I heard Les Frazier say a few times, this is easily correctable because this starts with a, you know what, they went out and bought Kevin O'Connell a new car, right? Because Josh Oliver was a new car, and they're like, we are going to, this is a Jaguar, baby. We could go 100 miles an hour plus, but you got to have a lead foot to do that. And Kevin O'Connell, when it comes to the run game, doesn't. At the first sign of trouble, he bails. They stuck with Madison, in my opinion, too long. This is not, you can't just say, well, the offensive line sucked. And no, were they perfect? No. Does anybody have a perfect offensive line? Of course not. This, to me, starts with an off-season, and I guess it's going to be a second consecutive because clearly they did this last spring and summer as well. But this starts with a conversation about we need to be committed to this. And the run game's not consistently going to be great. We all get that. But if you abandon it, guess what happens? Nothing. And to go back to what we discussed before, Mike Zimmer ran the ball too much. And yes, that puts you in 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 9 or sometimes 2nd and 12.
We went too far.
That went too far. But this has gone too far too. Yeah. And if you want to be successful in what the Vikings want to do, and O'Connell wants to, and God bless him for it, drive the ball downfield, right? Big gains, chunks, as we like to say in football, 15, 20 yards here, 25, 30 yards there. You need two things. You need at least the respect of your opponent when it comes to your run game, that is a threat, because play action is not a threat if you don't respect it. Like, you can fake it all you want, but guess what? No one's biting. Nobody cares. And the other thing is, and this is an extension of the run game, and I will contend this is just as important, you need a screen game. You need a semblance. I mean, O'Connell is, as far as I can tell, he is trying to cheat the system. He wants the big gains without the small gains that set up the big gains. So I do think that this is correctable. Is Madison the guy? It doesn't look like it, but that's okay. You know, we again have seen running backs who are 5th round picks, and Ty Chandler might be that guy. I don't think he's gotten a real chance yet. But we have again seen the Rams got a 5th round pick from 2 years ago who's having a phenomenal Pro Bowl type of season. Yeah. So I'm not going to back off. You can find running backs just because the Vikings don't trust one, and the guy that they do trust does some things well, but he's certainly not what you would consider a guy that can carry you. So, but yes, I think this is among the O'Connell things. This is probably the most disturbing, and it's the lack of a run game and the complete lack of a screen game. And seems to me, you guys, to be a complete lack of desire to have a screen game. I don't understand that. You can't do that. At least I don't think.
Yeah. Well, you use the word desire. So let's, because desire to me is just attempting runs. Like it'd be one thing if the Vikings, right. So like the Browns, for instance, let's use the Browns because they're the other team that used 4 quarterbacks this year. And lately, Joe Flacco's averaging like 320 yards through the air in the 5 games he played. But the Browns, even though they lost Chubb in the second week of the season, the Browns are still pounding the run, even if it's just for show, on a pretty regular basis throughout all 4 quarterbacks. Now, they did have a run. If you look at the Browns, like in the middle of the season, they had a run where they were rushing for like 160 yards with backup running backs, 160 yards, 150 yards. But Joe Flacco has thrown for 320 yards a game off of his couch. And 55% of those yards since he took over are play action. Now, you can still run play action without like gaining 150 yards on the ground, as the Browns are showing you, by as long as you commit to keep. The Vikings have just stopped trying to run the ball in most of these games. And I think this is what's most perplexing. The Vikings are using backup quarterbacks since October, and they're playing in exclusively close games, right? They've played in 14 one-score games, and half of those are with backup quarterbacks. So if you're telling me, just like, let's zoom out of this, let's just pull it way back, not even in the statistical weeds or anything. Hey, Judd, the Vikings are going to have backup crappy quarterbacks, but they're still going to be in close games. What would your offensive strategy be? To throw the ball more than almost any team in the NFL still?
Yeah, I would say you're running the ball. You need to be running the ball. Yes.
Yeah, and they continue to throw 4 interceptions for Mullins against Detroit, and like I know some of this like lately game flow has dictated like that Packers game that they should be throwing the ball. But when you're using backup quarterbacks and you're playing in 14 one-score games, how are you 28th in rushing attempts?
Right.
Explain that to me like I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Explain it to me even further. I don't understand.
That's the key stat, though. That is absolutely the key stat. Like every stat that you read, I'm not saying it's not important, but that's the stat that I looked up. When I saw your note about the discussion point, what I looked up is how much are you even trying? And the answer is, it's not really working, so we're not going to try it. Sorry, Dex, go ahead.
On 3rd down and 2 yards or less to go this season. So when the Vikings are on 3rd and 2nd or less, they have ran 26 passing plays. They have rushed the ball just 14 times. So in a short yardage situation, and it's not, obviously when you run the ball on 3rd and 1 and 2, it's not 100% success rate. In fact, when they have run the ball, it's a 71% success rate on 3rd and 2 or less to go.
Wow.
On those 26 passing plays, they have converted 53, so it's more than a coin flip, but they have taken a chunk of 3rd and 2, manageable, kind of predictable situations, and they have said, no, we're not going to run the ball, we're going to pass it.
Super interesting. I mean, I think Kevin O'Connell, philosophically, it's been proven, would prefer to throw the ball. And I will defend him and say, at the end of the day, you're going to gain more yards throwing the ball than running the ball, because even the best rushing offenses are going to gain like 4.5 to maybe at the top end 5 yards per carry. Whereas through the air, the worst offenses through the air are going to be like 6 yards per attempt. The best are going to be closer to like Brock Purdy's at like 9 yards per attempt, 8.5, 9 yards per attempt in that San Francisco offense. But it can't just be about that math. You get more yards on average when you throw. Well, some of that is because, like, look at San Francisco. A lot of the big pass plays that they set up are linebackers and defensive backs and defensive linemen taking a step or 2 steps in because of the threat of a running play.
Yes.
Same situation for the 49ers. On 3rd down and 2 yards or less to go, they have ran 25 rushing plays, and they've converted 80% of those. They've only passed the ball 17 times. However, they're averaging 6.7 yards per pass in those 3rd and 2 and less situations. So they're converting them at a high rate at 70%, and they're also hitting big plays. Now, it helps. You have Christian McCaffrey, probably the best back in the league.
Yep,
you have really good line. You have really good scheme. But like, look at the difference there. Like 25 rushing yards, you have the best back. And they've only passed the ball 17 times in the exact same situations as the Vikings.
Yep. So to sum it up, the Niners are on those 3rd and short, 3rd and 2s. The Niners are running the ball more than they're throwing, and they're converting on 80% first down rate. The Vikings are throwing the ball more than they're running, despite the fact that the Vikings are converting when they run 70% of those first downs. So now I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of Kevin O'Connell, because he's not a dumbass. Like, Kevin O'Connell's a smart guy, and he knows offense. He's been around NFL offense for 15 years. He might come back and say, well, give me the San Francisco 49ers offensive line and weapons and all that stuff, and specifically the interior of the Vikings offensive line. I looked this up on PFF, just looking for the why. Like, why would you not, especially on short yardage situations, to Declan's nugget there, why would you not lean more into just handing the ball off with backup quarterbacks? Okay. Of the 206 qualified offensive linemen in the NFL this year, Ed Ingram, Dalton Reisner, and Garrett Bradbury, that's your interior offensive line right there, right? That's your guard, center, guard. That's your core. All of them rank outside the top 90. So all of them so Bradbury's 93rd out of 206 run blocking. Mm-hmm. Ingram is 120th out of 206 run blocking grade. Dalton Reisner is 176th run blocking grade out of 206. Reisner is actually one of the worst run blocking offensive linemen in the NFL this year, according to PFF.
Which is his history. Yep.
So he might tell you, I got a center with a bad back all the time who's not great at really anything. I've got two guards. One is a second-year guy trying to figure it out. Another one is like Dalton Reisner is like strictly a pass protecting left guard. I can't get any push with these guys. That's something to fix then, right? Like, how do you fix this going forward? Well, you probably need better run blocking interior offensive linemen so you can feel more comfortable on 3rd and 2 pushing the pile forward.
Yeah, and he'll tell you too that in 3rd and 2 he's passing more because teams expect him to run, and so he's trying to give them a look that they won't expect. Except the problem is he's now become predictable, and so they do expect it, so it doesn't work as well because the trickery is gone when I know you're probably going to pass. But this also gets to be so let's go back to, yes, your personnel could improve, and that's on you. That's on Kwesi. Like, you should be looking to upgrade there, because not running the ball is not an option. But that being said, here's a question. Okay. For instance, you used Brandon Powell, who's a very slight man. I like Brandon, but he's a very slight man, to push a backup quarterback in Cincinnati, and it failed miserably. Not surprising. Why at some point in time did you not mix things up? And let's just say on 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, okay? Why wouldn't, if you're not going to have Hammond, why not put Josh Oliver in the backfield as an H-back and allow him to lead block? Like, there's ways here. My issue with O'Connell when it comes to the overall game, because I think in the passing game there is creativity, but my issue with O'Connell in the overall game is I haven't seen as much creativity with personnel as I thought. And that's where, and look, you know, the commitment to Madison has been for the most part maddening. Like, he just doesn't have it. Too bad. I don't know why, but he doesn't. But that doesn't mean, like, this whole thing from day one in the Seattle exhibition game with Ty Chandler, and, you know, well, he does it when the lights come on, but he doesn't. I don't know what the problem is there, but this dude, like, everybody, the three of us saw it. He's got a step, he's got an explosiveness that Alexander Madison just doesn't.
Yeah.
So, like, why the hesitancy? I get, okay, you can't block on 3rd down. Well, then take him out on 3rd down. Adrian Peterson used to come out on 3rd down.
Yeah, it is weird that it took that long to go with just the clearly more explosive running back. I mean, I think all of this, like everything from the Chandler being late on the Chandler decision and just the overall incompetence of the run game, I think that, to me, that's like outside of turnovers, which I don't know, you can criticize turnovers, but sometimes you got Nick Mullins in there throwing 4 picks or whatever. You got Justin Jefferson reaching for a pylon. Like, turnovers can be a weird thing. This was something they set out to fix, and their biggest free agent signing was meant to fix this. You know what? Like, to sum up, we've been talking about this for like 15 minutes now. You can sum it up this way. The Vikings are soft. S-A-W-F-T, soft. They don't even try to run the ball. When they do try to run the ball, they've got 3 of the worst run-blocking interior offensive linemen in the league, guard, center, and guard, according to Pro Football Focus. You know, they're trying to be this. I get what they're trying to do. Fast track US Bank Stadium, Kirk Cousins before the injury, right? We're gonna be at Jefferson on the edge, draft Jordan Addison. We're gonna be a track meet team, and we're gonna throw the ball for 300, 350 yards. Like, I get it, but you're not the Kurt Warner greatest show on turf. You're not. It's not Peyton Manning from 20 years ago with Hall of Famers all over the place. Like, they're like a finesse team trying to be these Hall of Fame great offenses from the early 2000s, late 90s. They're a diet version of those, and they refuse to try running the ball more. It's like they're soft. It's one of the softest offenses in the NFL. Is that a hot take?
No, I don't think so. So what you're saying is you are sick and tired of the outside zone is going to work. We're going to run the outside zone, and that's going to work. Run the ball up the middle when you need to. Don't try and
let's run some power. Let's run some duo. Let's run some stuff here. Let's try.
You could. Unless he has a fumbling problem I don't know about, and it's quite possible considering the story of the 2023 Vikings. What's to stop CJ Ham on 3rd and 1? From getting 2-3 yards.
Now we're like
all you're doing is trying to move the chains. That's the thing. Yeah. You're not trying to. Not everything has to be a killing. Not everything has to be a kill shot, I should say. Right? You're trying to move the chains so you can get that big play. But I go back to I think play action is one of, and it's been statistically proven. Play action is incredibly important, but you have to respect it. And if a defense doesn't respect it, to your point about San Fran. If I got linebackers all of a sudden being like, oh my God, and they're stepping up, and now bang, you know what? This is a one-step league. You take a step, I can beat you. Because if it's a misstep, it is advantage me. So yeah, and the Vikings have, the other problem too is there's been far too many times that this team has been soft in situations, especially right now on offense, where you got to just pound it. But that starts with a commitment to it. You got to be committed to it, man.
One of the on the note about them being soft, SAWFT soft, right? They're 28th in rushing attempts. They're like bottom 5 in yards per attempt. They just they can't move a pile. And in one of the key moments of the season, they had 2 downs to gain 1 yard, and it's our offensive line push against your defensive line push. And we'll even have somebody pushing our quarterback, the smallest guy on the roster if they chose, to your point earlier, Brandon Powell. But we have 2 downs to get 1 yard, and we're going to try twice to push the pile. And they failed both times. And like, of all the different things that could symbolize, like a microcosm of the season, that was probably the biggest one, which is, all right, this is it. Season's on the line. Got to win this game. Got to get this yard to keep this thing going forward. And they couldn't even put someone bigger than 5'8", 175 pounds back there to try and make it happen.
And that's
finesse,
the biggest,
man. They're finesse.
And that's the biggest one post Kirk for sure. Because to what with Kirk, you could be like, well, you could have passed it there, right? Like there's things. I mean, this is Nick Mullins. Mm-hmm. And on 3rd and 1, the Vikings said, well, we thought we got it. It was 3rd and 1. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have to be like, well, we thought we got it, you probably didn't get it. So have somebody pound the bleeping football for 2 yards. That's all you're asking. Because if it's 2 yards, they're not going to screw up the spot.
Yeah. I'll give you one more here, and then we can get into the next topic. But when you think of the most finesse teams in the NFL, the Dolphins probably come to mind, right? They're the fastest team. Even their coach looks finesse with his little like ankle showing sweatpants on the sideline, right?
He doesn't wear those now.
Love them.
I love those. I wear those every day now.
I like them too. I'm just saying, the Dolphins scream finesse, right?
Yes, 100%.
And even those Dolphins, the most finesse team in the NFL by most people, I would say, they've run the ball 70 more times than the Vikings this season. And that's a Dolphins team that's playing in a lot more blowout games too. So, and part of the reason why is they're probably running the ball in the second half of blowout. So I will give you that. But the most finesse team in the NFL is running the ball 70 more times than the Vikings, who have played 14 one-score games with mostly backup quarterbacks. What are we doing here?
That's a San Francisco thing, right? Like I think the Vikings were like threatening, well, we're going to do some 49ers things. And McDaniel's like, I coached there. Of course I'm doing those things.
Yep. It should be near the top of the to-do list again, is from the same thing as last year, find a better running game. Hey, before we get into a must-lose game for the Vikings and what people are giving you, like how the Vikings can get in, all these scenarios, right? We're going to give you the opposite. How can the Vikings, what needs to happen for the Vikings to climb the Tankathon standings? And also a random Viking of the week. But let's shout out our friends over at Prize Picks here, gentlemen. In fact, let's see here. Popping open Prize Picks right now on my phone. And there's a tab that shows you like the most popular the most popular players that people are picking more or less on. Baker Mayfield right now is a hot one at 228.5 passing yards. He might have played his way into I don't know if like a long term, but he might have played his way into another year of starting for Tampa Bay. So Prize Picks is here to help you win 25 times your money this football season. Select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. And also with basketball season in full effect too, you can combo like a LeBron James and a Travis Kelce, 10.5 3-pointers made and receptions, for instance. They do a lot of fun combo platters. Go to prizepicks.com/purpledaily. Use the code purpledaily for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/purpledaily with the code purpledaily for a first deposit match up to $100. Maybe you can spend some of that over at 3Jack in the North Loop. Huh?
That's a good idea. I like it. I can't just, I got a putting mat for Christmas, and that's fine. I got to work on the putting. Easiest thing to fix. Well, easier said than done. An attainable thing to fix potentially on the golf course, but I can't just, not swing an iron for 4 months. I can do that at least at 3Jack. I can book those simulator bays. I can get those loaded nachos too. It's not just golf. Great food options too. And anyone who mentions Purple Daily gets a free pint of beer when you purchase a menu purchase item. So you get those loaded nachos, you're getting your swings in. How about a free pint too when you mention Purple Daily? Go check out 3Jack in the North Loop in Minneapolis.
Love it. Also, if you're a dog out there, you're not old enough to go to 3Jack and get that pint, but you are definitely qualified to eat Nutrisource, which is the official dog and pet food of Score North and Purple Daily. We're looking forward to, probably in about 20 minutes, Maya Mackey pawing at my door for her little scoop of lunch, gentlemen.
Oh, that's very nice, because Stella ate this morning. Nutrisource is always very, very happy. And then right before I started recording, she's like, I want to go outside. And I'm like, I know exactly why. So she would get a Nutrisource treat. So Stella has already double dipped today, Dex.
Yeah, I came home late from the Wolves game. Didn't roll in until about 11 o'clock. And, Vinny Boy gets a mini Zoomy attack because Dad's finally home after being gone for 9 hours. And I was like, all right, if you just calm down, I'll give you your Nutrisource treats. It'll be good for everyone else. It is sleepy time. We've had a long day. Nutrisource treats, and let's go to sleep.
Yeah, NutrisourcePetFoods.com to find a Nutrisource retailer near you. That's NutrisourcePetFoods.com. So I've seen, like, on Vikings.com, they've got the layout of how the Vikings can crack that 3% chance to make the playoffs. Like, the Vikings would beat the Lions. The Cardinals would have to beat the Seahawks. The Bears would have to beat the Packers. And then the Falcons would have to beat New Orleans, or the Panthers would have to beat the Bucks. So you're literally relying on at least a couple teams that are desperate to keep their draft positioning, like the Cardinals, for instance, to beat a team that's desperate to get into the playoff, Seahawks, as one of the equations.
Right.
So that's all a long shot. I want to give you the opposite here, gentlemen. This is your Tankathon update for what needs to happen for the Vikings to climb as high as 9th, maybe even 8th, but I don't think the math works on 8th.
Okay.
But let's go through it. So if you're rooting, and by the way, I would classify this, would you guys fight me on this? This is a must-lose game for the Vikings on Sunday.
Oh, this game's of monumental importance for a loss.
I'm
Absolutely.
with you. It's a loss. I'd rather have the loss. Yep.
No interest in a win in this one.
Bad
fan.
You're a bad fan if you're not rooting for the long-term success and interest of this franchise. So for the Vikings to climb as high as they can from 12th up to 9th, and we'll talk about 8th, obviously they have to lose to the Lions. So lose. Hey, Nick Mullins, buddy, we're going to throw for as many yards as you can today. I don't want to see a check down for 3 hours, buddy. I want to see every pass, average air yards, 22 yards, 30 yards.
Yep.
Chuck that pigskin like you've never chucked it before, Uncle Rico. So Vikings lose to Lions is part of the equation. We're rooting for the Falcons to beat the Saints because the Falcons have 7 wins. We want them to get an 8th win.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Rooting for the Bears to beat the Packers.
Possible. Bears are playing well.
Possible.
And then we're rooting for the Raiders to beat the Broncos. At home for the Raiders, by the way.
You could see it.
I think those are all attainable.
Yeah.
If
Falcons
all those
concerns me a little bit.
If all those things happen, if you beat if you lose to the Lions, and the Falcons beat the Saints, the Bears beat the Packers, the Raiders beat the Broncos, the Vikings would be picking 9th instead of 12th.
Now, let's quickly talk about the teams that you just read who also are on the same blessed trajectory as the Vikings. I'm fearful the Falcons, that Falcons Daily is saying the same thing, correct? Because the Saints and Buccaneers are in the running for the putrid South. Like if you're the Falcons, you want the loss, right?
You would.
Aren't the Falcons still technically alive?
They might be, but I'm saying, what's their record?
They're 7-9. Am I wrong on this? Oh, they are
7-9,
still alive. They have a 17% chance. They're trying to make the playoffs.
Right. But I'm just saying the Vikings also are technically alive. I'm talking
no,
about
but like the Falcons are 17%. The Vikings are 3%. The Falcons are actually alive. The Vikings are 97% dead.
Okay. Because I was just thinking that the Falcons might be thinking like, yeah, that draft pick would be nice too.
And Arthur Smith is kind of coaching to keep his job. So
he's such a buffoon.
Yeah.
I can't stand that guy.
But you're saying the Falcons might tank that game against the Saints?
I'm saying the Falcons fans, like technically nobody is
care about the fans.
I'm saying the Falcons fans, much like with the Purple Daily fans, might be saying, you know what, it would be best if our team lost.
And that's fine. I'm more concerned about the Falcons. Like, are they going to put their best players out and try to win that game against the Saints? Like Falcons fans, whatever. I don't care what they think.
Who's starting a quarterback?
Taylor Heineke.
They got a good chance to lose that game. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, that's gonna be a tough sled. I think Raiders beating the Broncos at home seems like the most likely. And the Bears have won 4 out of 5, and the Packers defense, despite the Vikings not being able to do anything,
I think the Bears are feeling good. I think the Bears are feeling good, and they've got that Carolina pick. So I think that's a decent one. Yes.
Yeah, because they can push forward and try and win a game and still pick number 1 overall, right? Because that's the Panthers pick. So that would get them to 9th. There are some people talking about getting up to 8th. The Jets are currently 6-10, but they play the Patriots. So if the Jets beat the Patriots, they would move to 7-10. If the Vikings lose, then both those teams would be 7-10. Mm-hmm. But the tiebreaker would be strength of schedule. And I think so the higher strength of schedule, like the better strength of schedule would be the loser in that tiebreaker. Right now, both those teams are tied for strength of schedule at a 507 strength of schedule. But the Vikings play the 11-win Lions and the Jets play the 4-win Patriots. Mm-hmm. So the Jets' strength of schedule is going to come down and the Vikings' strength of schedule is going to go up. So I don't know, unless like all the other teams they play shuffle in a way where, you know, like if like all of the other teams the Jets have played win or something and their collective strength of schedule goes up. So I think mathematically it's going to be tough to get to 8th. So let's not get greedy. Let's be rooting for the Falcons, the Bears, and the Raiders.
Okay.
On Sunday.
Okay.
Or Saturday, whatever.
And let's not forget also the Roar. Let's not forget the Lions. We're big Lions fans on Sunday.
Yes. Be wearing our Lions jerseys on Ventline.
Yep. I'll be wearing my
Barry Sanders, Herman Moore,
Eric Hipple, my old school, my Scotty Mitchell.
Scotty Mitchell. My Wayne Fonts jersey. I don't think he had a jersey because he was a coach.
Love Wayne Fonts.
But there it is. There's your Tankathon update for what needs to happen for the Vikings to climb the draft board.
How many Vikings fans, and I get the Packers game because, you know, it's the Packers. We don't want to lose to the Packers. How many actual Vikings fans do you think want a win on Sunday with a 3% playoff chance?
I don't know how you can. Like, I don't know.
That's what I'm at.
I can't identify.
That's my question.
Like, what do you want as a fan? Do you want the Vikings to I guess there are some fans that are literally going through and this is fine. Like, now I'm judging. 2 days ago I spent time like shaming people for fan shaming, and now I'm doing the same thing. But let's say the Vikings win and the Cardinals beat the Seahawks and the Bears beat the Packers and the Falcons beat New Orleans, and you are in. The 3% cashes. Okay. Then what?
Right.
You're going to go to Dallas or something? I just...
Or you win and one of those things goes wrong, and now you've got an extra win, a worse playoff spot, and it means nothing.
Yeah. I am more interested in and again, like you could whiff on the 9th pick. Obviously, we've seen the Vikings whiff on picks before. We're not talking about guarantees here. We're talking about probabilities. It's a better probability that you have the quarterback fall to you or that you're within striking distance to trade up, right? You're just in a better position if you move up from 12th to 10th to 9th. And that's what I'm rooting for.
When your head hits the pillow on Sunday night, what's going to make you smile? The Vikings beat the Lions and are still not in the playoffs, or they've actually got, as you said, a chance to draft a player probably far superior or better for sure, assuming that they stay and don't trade back again, to improve their team.
And it's not like the culture's on the line here, right? Where, if you lose this game, then KOC loses the locker room versus... I just think at this point, the season is what it is. Like most players in that locker room understand that if they were fully healthy, things would have maybe been different. I don't... Like if there was a risk of like, boy, if you end the season with this many losses, you could really lose the locker room, and now you're talking about bigger problems. I don't think that's where that locker room and organization are at right now.
The National Football League record for picks in a game was set by a guy by the name of Jim Hardy with the Eagles back in 1950. That's the one thing I'd like to challenge on Sunday.
How many picks did he throw?
8 in one game. I'd like to challenge that.
How many picks would Nick Mullins have to throw before they pulled him for like Josh Dobbs or Jaron Hall? Well, is there any number of picks that he could throw?
4.
If Dobbs is inactive again, or he's the third guy, he can't come in unless the first 2 get
whoever
hurt.
the backup is.
That might be. So my point is, no, I'm going after the record. I'm not pulling him.
9. Come on. You got 9 in you, Nick?
September 24th, 1950. Oh, I'm sorry. It was versus Philadelphia, but nonetheless, 8 interceptions. So we're shooting for 9.
Let's make it happen. It's like 2 per quarter, and then like a bonus one late, like a Hail Mary or something late. Make it happen, Nick. All right. Random Viking of the Week time here on Purple Daily. I couldn't tell if Judd was going to keep going or not. So
nope.
Awkward silence it is. Okay. Random Viking of the Week. It's my turn to throw out clues to you guys.
All right.
All time, Judd has 63 wins, Declan 31. I have 18. In the new era where we all compete against each other, loser is out and gives the clues the next week. Judd and I each have 11 wins. Declan has 5. The last handful of Random Vikings: Andrew Glover, Colin Leffler, Brett Favre, Willie Offord, Michael Jenkins, and Amir Smith-Marset. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So all throughout the clues, you guys get up to 3 strikes. If you hit a 3rd strike, you're out. The other person wins automatically. It happens like once every 20 times, I feel like. Clue number 1. In high school, this player had 42 starts at quarterback. And in those 42 starts at quarterback, passed for 6,783 yards, 48 touchdowns, rushed for another 2,000 yards, and 41 rushing touchdowns. So 89 passing and rushing touchdowns in 42 starts at quarterback in high school. This Random Viking earned varsity letters in basketball and track also during his high school career, in addition to football. So football, basketball, track. This Random Viking was once a first-team All-American in college.
I will take a stab.
Whoa.
Wow.
This would be...
Just making sure.
I was going to say, I have to look at some of our previous ones.
Donovan McNabb.
Donovan McNabb. We haven't used Donovan McNabb, right?
We haven't, according to my
Definitely
spreadsheet.
adding him to the list.
Yep.
All right, 1 strike for Dex. I like the aggressiveness.
Yeah, that's good.
This Random Viking has a published autobiography, and the foreword for that autobiography was written by former Vikings defensive coordinator Tony Dungy and former Gopher quarterback Tony Dungy. Right? His quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
This Random Viking has 98,000 Instagram followers.
know it's not Todd Lober.
Todd Lober. That's great.
98 Instagram followers. 90,000 Instagram followers. Okay, hold on a
The
second.
wheels are turning.
So his autobiography or the foreword is written by Dungy?
Mm-hmm.
I think you've done a great job at throwing us off the scent. I'd like to congratulate you already.
This random Viking has been a guest on the Manning cast before.
We've used him.
Okay.
This random Viking became part owner of a winery in Santa Fe, Texas in 2020.
Winery?
Mm-hmm.
Santa Fe, Texas.
This random Viking played in 15 regular season games with the Vikings.
Done that guy.
Couple playoff games too.
With the Vikings?
Mm-hmm. Let me actually hold on. Let me see. See if he's played in how many total playoff games he's played in. I'll get you that one too. Looks like those are the only 2 playoff games with the Vikings. This random Viking is a current active player in the NFL. Not a Viking right now, but he is a current active player in the NFL.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nope. Wait.
He's played for 7 different NFL teams.
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. There it is.
Oh, nice.
The Dexter. Nice job, dude.
Nice. He's an autobiography?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I think it was written pretty closely after the Minneapolis Miracle. Whoever his
Okay.
agent and publicist are were very smart to say, you know what?
Okay.
This would be the time to
Nice
rifle
job,
off
Dex. Yeah.
an autobiography, a life story about
I didn't feel close to that one. So nice job.
Yeah, the other clues were going to be that he entered the NFL in 2012, played college football in Conference USA, and was one of the greatest players at his position in the history of college football.
Yeah,
He still holds multiple passing records.
Yeah. Great. Player.
Undrafted. First team All-American.
If you had said
undrafted.
this guy was despised by his head coach despite his success, I would have gotten it.
Thought that might have been too obvious.
Yeah.
So
That was good.
Case Keenum. And so next week it'll be Judd's turn to throw out the clues. But congrats to Declan there on career victory 32 and victory 6 in the new era here. Hey, before we mock to wrap up the show, a little interesting mock here. A shout out to the 34th annual Brainerd JC's Ice Fishing Extravaganza. Saturday, February 3rd on Gull Lake's Hole in the Day Bay. Over $250,000 in prizes. You can purchase tickets for just $50 at any of the 49 Fleet Farm locations across Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, North Dakota. Also online at icefishing.org. So icefishing.org is the place for all things information, tickets, the 34th annual Brainerd JC's Ice Fishing Extravaganza. Again, it's Saturday, February 3rd on Gull Lake's Hole in the Day Bay. We're going to need some ice here at some point. Got to get the temperatures to cool off. But I think between now and then, we're probably going to make up for some lost time in November and December. Go to icefishing.org for all the information. Okay, gentlemen, it's time.
I want to mock!
It's time to mock here. We have done 14 mock drafts since November, And we're logging all of the different players we see across the mock drafts we do on this podcast, on Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd, anywhere else. And we've landed now on 247sports.com. This is mostly a college and recruiting content website. They also do mock drafts. And they do trades. Love it when mock drafts do trades. It's always exciting.
It's a must.
Number 1, to the Washington Commanders, who trade up with the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams. I would feel really bad for whoever. I know they changed ownership, but I just feel like Washington is such a black hole of an organization.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So Caleb Williams, number 1. Drake May, number 2, as the Patriots complete a trade here. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Bears, who have traded back into that 3rd spot. That'd be pretty nice if they could trade back and still get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, God, yeah.
Let's keep scrolling here. Okay, the 3rd quarterback off the board goes number 5 to the Giants, Jaden Daniels. Okay. I'm scrolling here. There's the first edge rusher, Dallas Turner to the Falcons from Alabama. Jared Verse, little edge rusher run here. Jared Verse to the Bears, Florida State's stud edge rusher. With the 11th pick, oh, man. The 4th quarterback comes off the board, and it's Michael Penix to the Raiders.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. That might be a little aggressive, but I'm sure his stock is
He
rising.
seems unfortunately destined to the Raiders, too. I'd like to see him go somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe the Vikings can jump, but they don't in this particular mock. They stay at 12, and with 4 quarterbacks off the board, they go edge. Laiatu Latu from UCLA.
I want a mock!
Second one, right?
I want to mock!
Yeah, I
I
think
think that's the second one this week that you have him going to the.
Yep.
Or that someone has him going to Vikings.
CBS Sports also had it earlier this week.
I believe it's
So we've
the
actually
medicals
seen a lot of those.
that are up with Latu. I know we've talked a lot about that on Purple Daily on Draft. He's got some medical issues that could affect his draft positioning and stock. But if he's healthy, he will be an absolute beast in the NFL.
Yeah.
Combine will tell the story there, I'm sure.
Yeah, the last 5 mocks we've done over the last 3 days, 4 edge rushers going to the Vikings and 1 quarterback, Bo Nix from PFF. And that was kind of that wasn't really a mock draft. It was the best prospect that's probably available realistically when you draft.
So we're probably seeing an early run by the mock community, God bless them, that expects Kirk to be back here.
Yeah, or it just expects the Vikings to not trade up for a quarterback. That's the thing we don't know, because usually any projected trades would be they're projecting top 5 trades and then they just get lazy and stop on these mocks. But the Vikings are going to be in a prime position to trade up or down. So we'll see. There's your mock draft update.
I want a mock!
All right, boys. Any other final words of wisdom before we say goodbye and come back for a Feedback Friday tomorrow?
No, I'm just
so.
excited. I'm very excited for Sunday. I think it's going to be a big time challenge to just play as atrociously as you possibly can. Nick Mullins, I look for him to set a yardage passing record and an interception record in the same game.
I'm going to wear my Calvin Johnson jersey on Sunday, rooting for
Charlie
the Lions.
Batch.
Charlie
I got my
Batch
Jerry
jersey.
Ball one.
Joey
set to go.
Harrington.
Oh,
My Lions
Joey
Jerry Ball 5XL.
Dante? Get a
Dante
Dante
come
jersey.
roll
on. Get your
Let's
roll
go.
on with Dante.
Yeah,
Last
Dante.
team, right? His last
I
team
think so, yeah. I went to a
before he
start.
played for
think
the
it's done.
Sacramento Lion Kings.
How about your Gus Farrat Lions jersey? Can you dust that one off, John?
You know I'm Gus Farrat's biggest fan.
I'm going to dust off my Corey Schlesinger jersey. Remember
Chris
that
Spielman?
guy? Fullback with a neck roll from the
Chris
late
Spielman.
90s.
Chris Spielman,
Chris
who
Spielman.
works for him.
Yep.
Love the old
We'll
Lions.
just be here all night listing off random
Billy
Lions
Sims.
players.
Career came to an end at the Metrodome. Poor guy.